Greetings, respected viewers. I'm in front of the house of Prince Talleyrand, the renowned French politician and diplomat. It was Charles Maurice de Talleyrand Périgord, so he was born. So Talleyrand was simply part of his title. So born into an aristocratic family, and in the 18th century, the aristocracy in France was huge, was over 1% of the population. You might say that's not huge, but here it would have been about 0.01% would have had a noble title. Because remember, in France, all the sons would inherit the title, and there were loads, so therefore there were loads of them. So aristocrats weren't necessarily stinking rich. None of them were genuinely poor, but some of them had lived much more humble lives than you might expect. They might even have to plough their own fields. Anyway, so it was a time of almost absolute monarchy. So he had a withered foot. So the two careers for the younger son of an aristocratic family, who was going to get a title but not the estate, were really the army and the church. And because of his gammy foot, the army was ruled out, so therefore he went into the church. Despite being not unusually religious, he was ordained a Catholic priest. Remember, about 95% of people in France were Roman Catholics at the time. The Catholic Church was the established church. And he rose high in that. He gained preferment, partly because of his intellectual precocity, but also his connections, because those who came from well-got families, they got moved up the ranks. Then the French Revolution came and he was elected to the Estates General, the Parliament as it were. He later threw in his lot with the revolution, despite it being very much an anti-clerical revolution. There was the Great Terror in France. There was particularly Catholic priests who were executed. And he was once asked, what did you do in the Great Terror? He said, j'ai vécu, I survived, as he did whatever was necessary to keep his head attached to his body. So he would spout whatever ideology was necessary, he would duck and dive, he would change sides. He was certainly a dishonorable man for whom realpolitik became very naturally. Later he was part of the Directory. There was a triumvirate ruling France. Briefly it was Napoleon, Paul Barras and Talleyrand. So he was foreign minister for quite a while. And one time there was an attempted putsch, and he said to a servant, we're winning. And the servant said, who's we? Talleyrand said, I don't know yet, because he was obviously a complete time pleaser and was just going to switch sides as necessary in order to ensure the maximum wealth and status for himself. So a man who could not be accused of loyalty or honor. Anyway, so when it all went wrong for Napoleon, the emperor, Talleyrand, of course, dropped him like a hot potato, and he came back to support the Bourbons when Louis XVIII was restored, and indeed he managed to be his foreign minister as well, his ambassador here in the United Kingdom. So he lived on to a very great age, precisely because he was so cowardly and treacherous. So honesty is the worst policy. There's another house nearer to Paddington where he also lived. That is Talleyrand, a man who wrote some very scabrous and witty memoirs too.